Sivarama Maharaj ki. Maharaj needs no introduction, of course, just for formalities. So Maharaj was the spiritual leader of the UK for 25 years or so. Since then, he's moved to Hungary and established arguably the best self-sustaining farm community, spiritual farm community, probably in the three worlds. He's an author, spiritual master, and he's accepted huge responsibility in helping to guide this movement for many, many years. Formally welcome to this from London. Holy Sivarama Maharaj ki jai.
How long do we go through?
Usually 7, but since you hardly ever hear, you can go to 9, 10.
It's lovely to be here. As usual, and you wanted us to talk about Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yes, specifically the importance.
The importance of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, before I embarrass some people and ask who's read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's lovely to be here in 1979. I was passing, if you can make it a little louder, I was passing through the UK on my way to India, and I came to see Londonisvara and Lord Jagannath were at burial place at that time, still. And from burial place I came here. The arches were just being made at that time. Rancho Prabhu showed me around. There was one backdrop. Actually, at that time, Jagannath was headed for Chaitanya College, and there was only Londonisvara here. And he was an artist. I've never seen him since, but he was making a background, just painting a background for Londonisvara. It was really very beautiful. Anyway, and then in 1980, I came to the UK, and I had the good fortune of being here and being the GBC for 18 years. always nice to return. And thank you very much for not introducing me as our new guest. But this is sort of my home. So you're not a guest in your home. My hearing aid is running down. Let's sing a little. We'll sing or not as low as you did the other day. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Yashodanandana Rajajanarandana Londonisvara ki there are no deities like Londonisvara. Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
If I could have the last volume of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and last volume of Madhya Lila, not Anjalila, but Madhya Lila. Okay, now, who has read Chaitanya Charitamrita? For 3 ladies and a few more men. Who's planning to go back to Godhead? Okay, well, you've got to you gotta do better than that. It's not just it's not like falling off a tree or something like that. No, this is only, this is not the end of my Gita. This is only chapter 20. You know that the Bhagavad Gita concludes where Krishna is telling Arjuna that Mami kam sharanam braja. Just surrender to me exclusively. Yeah. And then Srimad Bhagavatam continues from that principle of Mamekam Sharanam, Sharanam meaning Sharanagati, surrender. Now how do you surrender to Krishna? So the whole principle, we get an introduction right from the very beginning that Savai Pungsa Paroda Mojito Bhaktiraho Skiti Ahoitiki Akatitata Jivanatma Suprasidati. And so many other verses that indicate that devotional service to Krishna is the means by which one Mam Ekam, that one becomes one with Krishna, not in a impersonal sense, but in the sense of becoming Krishna's servant. And as Krishna then later says in the 11th canto, that one gets my opulences, one shares my opulences. In other words, the devotee is, in one sense, equally opulent in spiritual perfection as is Krishna. Of course, there's always a difference between Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Krishna devotees are called the ashraya, or they are the shelter of loving exchange, they're the ones who are loving Krishna, and Krishna is the Vishaya, is the object of love. So, but how? How do you develop this oneness, which later on, especially as it starts with Prahlad Maharaj, we come to understand that this is actually about developing a loving relationship. So where does this prema actually really develop? And we see many incarnations of Krishna and many devotees of Krishna that are listed. Until then we come to the 10th canto. Of course, right from the very beginning, Sutta Goswami already warns us, or a warning, but actually gives us a preview of what's to come, that how does it go? 328.
Krishna's two ete chunks of the
Ete chunks of Kalapum Sam. Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Who said that? Well, you said that. You said that. Hariguru. Hariguru is a pandit. So amongst people who've not read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're a pandit. Savai Pungsam Parodharmo Vitru Bhakti Vitru Sujay Bhakti. I was visiting one of my godbrothers in Radhakund, and we were walking around, and one Babaji stopped them, and they were talking, and he wanted me to, and Babaji was sort of speaking, probably Hindi, and he was speaking Hindi and explaining Krishna consciousness to me, as if I didn't really know very much about it, and so then my godbrother says, quote some verses, say some verses. So I said some. I quoted a couple of verses when I sort of picked up on what he was saying that were relevant to that. He didn't understand that I was how I was speaking Sanskrit. He thought I was still speaking English. Because then the devotee pointed out, no, he's quoting Sanskrit verses. Sanskrit is quoting. I didn't. Savai Pungsa Parodharmo Vitru Bhakti Sujay. No, that wasn't what I wanted. Where is it? Ete Chamsa Kala Pungsam Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. So now we know that actually Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. That of all of these incarnations, Krishna is the Swayam Bhagavan. He's the origin of them all. And therefore Krishna gets a very special place in, others could also turn their telephones off. And Krishna obviously has a very special place in Srimad Bhagavatam because of the 180 chapters of Bhagavatam, 90 are dedicated to Krishna, of which I don't know, 39 are two about Vrindavan Leela. And in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the beginning of the 10th canto, not to be really beginning, but the 8th chapter, then Shukadeva Goswami talks about Mother Yashoda's love and how she thought that Krishna was her ordinary child. So that was quite startling for Parikshit Maharaj. How is it that, what kind of love, what kind of actually bhava or mentality does someone have to think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just their child? And what kind of, this is a unique type of love that hasn't come up till now in Srimad Bhagavatam, a unique type of relationship. Everywhere there's always been knowledge of the Lord's divinity, one incarnation or another. There's always been an awareness of Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Varaha, and so on. Brahma and Lord Varaha, and Prahlad and Lord Nrsimhadev, and there's Matsya and Satyavrata, Maharaj Satyavrata, and others like that. Now, this is something completely different. They don't know he's God. Treat him like an ordinary person. And to exemplify that, then we hear of the Damodar Lila, tie up God. It's an inconceivable concept when you consider that Krishna has actually no inside. He's got no outside to tie up. He's unlimited. That means that he's unlimitedly big. He's unlimitedly small. So, it's not just a matter of collecting all the rope in Vrindavan, but there's no real way, even with just this conception. For instance, we are all in Krishna. We are all in Londonisvara, but still Londonisvara are there. So it's a very mind-boggling conception, and of course it's like that because Achintya Kaluji Bhava, because Krishna has Achintya Shakti, an Achintya Shakti whereby the inconceivable becomes, in one sense, conceivable. So, in any case, the answer that's given is that the love of, and now I don't remember all the verses, and the love of Mother Yashoda, no one, whether it's Lakshmi Devi or Brahma or Shiva, etc., no one has this type of love, which is spontaneous love. It's a natural, spontaneous attraction. As long as you think that there's Krishna is God, or even if your attachment to Krishna is mixed with this concept that he's God, then you can't really love him for who he is as a person. Then it's always for what his actual position is. So that's described. That's all natural, spontaneous, raga bhakti. It's described throughout those 39 chapters, and then when Krishna goes to Mathura and Dwarka, then it becomes a different type of relationship. So the residents of Vrindavan, and this is what it means to read Srimad Bhagavatam, you're supposed to figure out what is the ultimate message of Bhagavatam. One is chanting Hare Krishna. Right in the very beginning, it's described that Tad Dadeti Swayam Bhayam. Of course, I don't know how it starts. How does it start? So, and at the end, Sankirtanandasya Sarva Prapta Pranashanam. I don't know why the mind is so selective. It remembers the last parts and it doesn't want to remember the first parts. But the last verse is about Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtanandasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam. So, and what's the message? What is chanting Hare Krishna? And then what's the actual goal when we're talking about, going back to Godhead? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? Well, chanting Hare Krishna is very clear, but mantras are chanted with a certain mood, with a certain bhav, with a certain intention. They're like an arrow. So you got an arrow, that's great, but unless you target it or you shoot it at your target, it's not very useful. So similarly, one may have a mantra, but we need to actually direct that mantra with desire. That is what Mamaram Sajiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashastra Indriyani Prakriti Stali Karshati. So living entities have desire. Because of desire, we're in the material world. Due to material desire, and similarly with spiritual desire, then we go to the spiritual world. And it becomes clear if you really study that the message is that devotees should cultivate a loving relationship like the residents of Vrindavan, and that's achieved by chanting Hare Krishna. Bus. How do you do it? But how do you do it? You can figure that much out, but how you actually do it. So therefore, indirectly, when Karabhajana Muni then speaks about who is the incarnation for this age, Krishna Varnam, Tisa Krishnam, Sangopanga Shaparshana, this is Krishna Varnam. So Krishna Varna means many things, but one thing it means of the same Varna or category. Like we have Varna Ashram, so Krishna Varna means the same category. Krishna Varna also means the same Krishna Varnam, Tisa Krishna, that he has the opposite. Krishna, he has not a blackish complexion, but the opposite of a blackish complexion. So here, Krishna is mentioned. It's not Bhagavan. They don't use the word Bhagavan. It's that same Krishna who we're talking about in the 10th canto. Then he's appearing, Yagyai Kirtanafreya, and yes, the Sankirtan is being drawn in also. That by chanting Hare Krishna, then you have to follow the way of this incarnation. Krishna Varnam Tisa Krishnam Sangopangasya Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. Then, how to do that? How does Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do that? And this is where the importance of Chaitanya Charitamrita comes in. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. What's the purpose of his appearance? So, today's a bad day for verses. In the introductory verses to Chaitanya Charitamrita, then you see where Anarapitam Sharim Shirat Karino Bhaktir Nakalo Sama Ar Paritum Pantu Chalas Sabakta Sishyam Hari Purata Sundara Juti Kadamba Sandipita Sadarida Ekandare Spuratuva Satchidandana. Then Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Oladini Shakti Rasmat Ekatmana Papi Bhuvi Puradeho Vitam Gatoto Chaitanya Prakatamadudata Dvaitam Chaitamatam Radha Bhava Juti Subhalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam Shiradhaya Mahimati Drishvavanayaiva Svadyo Yena Adhuta Kidrishava Madhya Sokya Chasya Tad Anubhavata Kidrishaveti Lovastat Bhavadya Samajani Satchigarho Sindhu Harindra. These are three of those verses, three of the 5 verses that deal with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But there we have that now here Krishna has appeared with this golden complexion. And what is he doing? He is revealing basically the 3 different features or aspects, his interests, let's put it that way. He's revealing three interests that he has in Srimati Radharani's love for him. And ultimately, in order to taste that, he takes the role of being Radha. Now, it's not really black and white when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, how that relates to us. We do not take the role of Srimati Radharani. We don't have either the love of Radha for Krishna or Krishna for Radha. So that's a whole different, but yet at the same time, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing the result of what loving Krishna is, there is certain relevance to how his followers are actually meant to practice Krishna consciousness. So in these verses then, Shri Radhaya, these are the three qualities. Then he says that he is Radha Baba Duti Sivaratam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing that Anarpitam Sharim Shirat Kavina Bhatirna Kalo Sama Arparitam Anuto Jvala Rasa Swabhakti Shriyam. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has actually descended and he has brought this Krishna Prema. So we have that easy reference, Krishna Prema Pradayate. So when Rupa Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he prayed to him like that. Yes, you're giving Krishna Prema. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving us Krishna Prema, what does that mean? Because often the Lord is asked, well, Lord Chaitanya is giving Krishna Prema, but I'm here, and where's Krishna Prema? So how do I have Krishna Prema? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the process for acquiring it. When he was there personally, then for the people that he met, sometimes he would, in different ways, either by looking at them, either by embracing them, either by their tasting the remnants of his food, either by their participating in his Harinam, they would just get love of God just like that. As the verse says, people would just immediately have prema. It's all throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita, Hare Krishna. Unfortunately, we weren't there, or if we were, we're hiding it very well. So, Krishna Prema Pradayate, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has, there is a verse at the end of the 90th chapter about Krishna, and that verse says that in many ways, Krishna delivered love of himself. So many people that saw him, heard him, and so on. And then it says, and by hearing about him in the future and hearing about his pastimes, people will get the same benefit. So that was a blessing that Shukadeva Goswami gives, that we, in the future, we hear about Krishna, then we get the same benefit. Of course, you have to hear in a certain way. You have to hear without offense, just like you're meant to chant without offense. So Chaitanya Charitamrita becomes a very important book, not just to read, to study. These are not reading books. These are textbooks. Now you've studied so many books. You've studied mathematics books and chemistry and physics and I don't know what else you've studied. Nowadays people study obviously so many things to do with computers and so on. these are also textbooks. And you didn't just, you didn't just read through a book. You have to actually study it and make notes and try and actually figure everything out so that you can really answer when the examination comes. And there will be an examination. The only one. You get one shot at it. So Krishna says, Yam yam bhapi smaram bhavam tujantante kalevaram. Whatever you think of at the time of death, similarly, that's what Narottam Das Thakur says, what I desire and think about in my practice of sadhana, that is what I will attain when as a siddha. It's a matter of something being unripe and ripe. You have to know what it is. And if one actually studies Chaitanya Charitamrita with Srila Prabhupada's purports, without Prabhupada's purports, it becomes very difficult. Prabhupada used Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentaries, and he often just quotes either one of them verbatim. Without them, it will be very, very difficult. It's not impossible, it's just difficult. That's what commentaries are there for. So Srila Prabhupada's purports are there so that we can actually understand what it means to go back home, back to Godhead, and how you actually cultivate that. It is not just such a simple thing. It's an extremely, Lord Chaitanya is very magnanimous. We'll say, well, no, Lord Chaitanya, he's just given it to everyone, that means we automatically have it. This is how he's given it. He's given it like this. So, for instance, someone's giving out diamond rings. So someone gives out the rings with the diamond mounted on the ring and everything, and someone else just says, here's the diamond, here's a piece of gold. So now you cut the diamond, you smelt the gold, you make it into a ring, you mount the diamond on top of the ring, and then you got a diamond ring. Both of them are getting diamond rings. One is made, and the other one is unmade. But they're both equally valuable. So this sadhana and this process that we have is equally valuable as those devotees who met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu face to face and immediately got love of God. And when we got love of God, we just have to put it together. And putting it together, what is it that you put together? You put together those elements that you will glean from Srila Prabhupada's books. And when you read Srila Prabhupada's books and you study them and you put it all together, then it will come. So Krishna says a lot of things. Bhavo jnana tapasa putramad bhava bhagata. He says, Bhavo jnana tapasa, by knowledge of me, putramad bhavam, many devotees have attained love for me. So Krishna's connecting by knowledge of me. Knowledge not because we're trying to become gyanis, just because we want to assemble the elements of Krishna's instruction into the form of love for Krishna, or that which will actually invoke love for Krishna. And so you have, and what is it? This anutojvala rasa, this ujvala. Ujvala means shining, brilliant. Anutojvala rasa. So what is this brilliant rasa? This brilliant rasa is this madhurya rasa, madhurya bhav. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to give, because it's actually not been known before. Braja Bhakti, some devotees were aware of that, but generally the relationship was always as servitude, maximum, certain degree of friendship. But if you see all of them, Prahlad Maharaj is in a mood of servitude, everyone, all of those devotees are in a mood of servitude. And when we come to 10th canto, then we have fraternal, paternal, conjugal love. These are the three. But specifically, the conjugal love becomes very clearly the most dominant of them all. And it is actually the, you could say, the secrets of this love that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give. And he's giving it to us through Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it becomes very important. Obviously, Srila Prabhupada would say, Bhagavad Gita is the university course, Srimad Bhagavatam is the master's degree, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is the PhD. So you can't start with a PhD. You can read it, but if you really want to understand it, you really have to have a good grasp of those three books. And then for good measure, we put in Nectar of Devotion, which is really hopeless to just try to read. You've really gotta, it's just fact and different definitions, one after the other after the other. Is it relevant to us? Is it important? Yeah, it is. It is. We may not memorize all the Sanskrit names. In Nectar of Devotion, there's very few. If you read its origin, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then you'll see a lot more. But these verses are being quoted, and they're also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Chaitanya Charitamrita is very important to finally actually understand what it is and how it is that we're meant to acquire this extraordinary type of affection for Krishna, but it has to be on a real foundation. It has to be on this foundation sambandha, which Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that you really know your position. Nitya Krishna Das, you are a servant of Krishna. So, to embrace that concept, to embrace the fact that yes, that is what I am a servant. Well, it's, we say, well, yeah, sure, I know I'm a servant. We do know that we're servants, but the fact is we're here in the material world because we don't want to be servants. And it may be more difficult to actually rid ourselves of that habit of being a master. So we want to lord it over our families, we want to lord it over our friends, with so many different ways that may still continue even in Krishna consciousness. And that's why Chinara Pisunichena Tarori Vasa Krishna, that we're told you should hang this mantra around your neck like a necklace, a wonderful thing around your neck. And why? Because it is the attitude that will protect you from this concept of being a Ishvaraham Maham Bhogi Siddhoham Balavam, so that I'm a controller, I'm a master, and so on. And not only is it that we want to understand that sambandha, our relationship with Krishna, now abhidheya, in Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, how is that practiced? It's there, but you really have to study, and specifically, you really have to see. Where is it? Where's my Shanti Hari's here? Oh, who's outside? Well, if my bag comes inside, has, and I may be fortunate enough to find exactly what I wanted. Just, hey David Plus, asking for my bag. Okay, so then Chaitanya and Chaitanya Chamritamrita, Sambandha Avideya Prayojana. So now, this is the ultimate goal. This is where we're going. This is the same mood. Who has second initiation here? Okay, so you're chanting, for instance, since we're talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, clean Chaitanyaya Vidmahi. This is Sambandha Vidmahi. You should know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you don't have a clear understanding of who he is and what your relationship is, and you're not going to get very much further in chanting your Gayatri mantra. What a genius. I've got my computer as well. So, Prem Chaitanyaya Vidmahi, Vishwambaraya Dhimahi. And he is Vishwambara. He is the maintainer of the universe. You need to meditate on him as like that. But how is Lord Chaitanya the maintainer of the universe? Because ultimately it's Lord Vishnu and not Lord Chaitanya who's maintaining the universe. All things. Oh, okay. Here's that verse. Narottam Das Thakur saying, I will constantly desire to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna with loving attachment. Whatever I contemplate during the practice of devotional service will certainly be achieved upon perfection in a spiritual body. This is the method on the path of attachment. Okay, now that was what I was looking for, and looking for an active devotion. Just try to find it. Active devotion, so it's key words if you want to find this, are I must be very, very tired.
Kriti Satya.
Huh?
Kriti Satya. Satya. Kriti.
No, I'm not, it's not a verse. It's just quoting Srila Prabhupada. So the mood of this perfection, how to attain this perfection, now is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but one has to actually then really search it out. This is already there in the instructions that the Lord gives Brahma. Etavadeva jignasa tattva jignasuratmana. You have to search it out up to this. It says you have to search for it. And then you have to search it out. So this is one of the four Chatushloki. So the Lord says, yes, you should search it out up to this. Etavadeva jignasa. You have to be inquiring. Tattva jignasuratmana. And this tattva, this truth, you have to actually, so here's the gold, here's the diamond, now you figure out how to put it together. And then you'll have a diamond ring. I can't figure it out on my own, that's okay. We have these books, we have these handbooks, and these handbooks will tell you exactly what to do. So you've got the Krishna Prema, but you have to really put it together. Okay. I'll just read one example. This here, coincidentally, this is Prabhupada's writing this is chapter 16 about conjugal love. Devotional service following in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan or the queens of Dwarka is called devotional service and conjugal love. This is Anutojjvala Rasa. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Because this was not known before. Especially there's a certain element or there's a certain type of conjugal love which Srila Prabhupada here will refer to. This devotional service and conjugal love can be divided into two categories. One is indirect conjugal love, the other is direct. So now keep these in mind. You can go to, I don't know where, certainly to Loy Bazaar, where you can get so many books from so many Babajis or so many other people who are speaking about this subject matter, and they'll use all kinds of technical terms. Prabhupada's not using any technical terms. Prabhupada is keeping it simple, but if you're not careful, then you won't catch it. But it'll go over. So one is indirect conjugal love, the other is direct. So indirect and direct. And he'll explain what it is. In both of these categories, one has to, this was the phrase I was looking for, one has to follow the particular gopi who is engaged in such service in Goloka Vrindavan. It's just not even the whole sentence, it's just part of the sentence. But this is actually the whole process. And if you don't study very carefully, you won't catch it. Of course, it's there in Upadeshamrita. Then verse 8, how does it start?
Krishna Nam Charitari Sapavidi. Next to his name.
Sikirtananu Slityo Pramena Rasana Manasin Yogya. Then Tishta Vrajatad Anugami Jananugami. The same thing is stated here is there in Upadeshamrita again. And you'll find it in other places, but it can be easily skimmed over. One has to follow the particular gopi who's engaged in such service. To be directly attached to Supreme Personality of Godhead in conjugal love is technically called Keli, so that's the direct. This Keli performance means to directly join with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are other devotees who do not wish direct contact with the Supreme Person, but who relish the conjugal loving affairs of the Lord with the gopis. Such devotees enjoy simply by hearing of the activities of the Lord with the gopis. That is what devotees are meant to be aspiring for. So I just wanted to cite that verse. There's a lot there. In terms of devotees who are worshipping Radha Londonisvara, this development of conjugal love can be possible only with those who are already engaged in following the regulative principles of devotional service. So someone who's actually very fixed in Krishna consciousness, specifically in the worship of Radha and Krishna in the temple. Such devotees gradually develop a spontaneous love for the deity, and by hearing of the Lord's exchange of loving affairs with the gopis, they gradually become attracted to these pastimes. After this, spontaneous attraction becomes highly developed. The devotee is placed in either of the above-mentioned categories. So Prabhupada really is explaining the process. We have two things here. One is the worship of Radha and Krishna in the temple, and the other is hearing of Krishna's exchanges. We hear of Krishna's exchanges through Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are many other books, but there's a special feature of hearing through Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that is when you're hearing Lord Chaitanya experiencing Krishna's Krishna Leela and so on, then it becomes a very safe medium of experience because it is through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm going to go to this one verse that emphasizes what we're talking about, namely the importance of reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kaviraj Goswami is concluding the Madhya Lila, and he says, Jai Lila Amrita Vide Kaya Jadi Anapani Tava Bhaktira Durbala Chiva Jara Eka Bindu Pani Utpuli Tatanumani Hashigaya Karya. Men become strong and stout by eating sufficient grains, but the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains but does not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna gradually becomes weak and falls down for the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, his body and mind begin to bloom, and he begins to laugh, sing, and dance. And the short purport says, all the devotees connected with the Krishna consciousness movement, okay, that's us, must read all the books that have been translated, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and others. Otherwise, after some time, they will simply eat, sleep, and fall down from their position. Thus they will miss the opportunity to attain an eternal, blissful life of transcendental pleasure. I'm not saying it, I'm just reading it. This is Prabhupada here says. Without actually reading and studying these books, one will not be able to put the ring together, and you won't have a diamond ring, and you won't have Krishna prema. It says you can't get it any easier than how we have it now. In one lecture, Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya just wants you to raise your arms and chant Hare Krishna, but for you raising your arms, even that's too difficult. But the theme is not how unqualified we are, but how fortunate we are and how qualified we are, because we do have Krishna prema. Through Srila Prabhupada, through the Guru Parampara that's going to be manifesting for the next 10,000 years in ISKCON, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving Krishna prema. But he's giving Krishna prema in the form where you have to do the work to put it together. And if we can't dedicate one life to that, then what can you do? You can't get it any easier than this. This is as easy as it gets. For this elevated perfection that generally most yogis, jnanis, Brahmins, don't even know. You know, if we speak to other people, especially for instance, those of Indian birthright, and they have all kinds of ideas, but this they don't know, they don't understand. And especially how it can actually be attained. So it is a really great good fortune that we have. At least this one life we should dedicate to putting it all together and making sure that we've done everything. I point this out to many people who's gone or going to university. Just one person. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so you're all gone or going to university. Up by that point, you have read hundreds of books. From grade school, elementary school, high school, maybe college, university, you have read hundreds of books. And the benefit of those hundreds of books is that you can eat. So now here we're talking about 4 books. Granted, Chaitanya Charitamrita is in, well, with these I don't know, originally 17 volumes. Bhagavatam is also varies by the printing, so it's more than one, but you've got one Bhagavad Gita, one Nectar of Devotion. Just these 4 books. And by reading these 4 books, one becomes spiritually strong. And by studying them, then one knows actually what it is that we've received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you put it together. I don't want to say it's like some kind of jigsaw puzzle or like a Rubik's Cube. You're turning it, and you have to get everything in place. And when we do it seriously, and when we try to do that seriously, Shrimbata Swakta Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Varidyanto Staya Vadrani Vitvinoti Sutta. Then Krishna will even help. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will even help. Okay, you need help in actually manufacturing that ring, I'll help you. So, but at least we need to really make that effort. And then it's guaranteed. If you have that interest, like now Das Thakur says. So men become strong and stout by eating sufficient grains, but the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains would not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Krishna gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. Doesn't mean that someone becomes whoremonger or something like that. It may just mean that someone just continues on with a mechanical spiritual practice that becomes his religion, quote unquote religion. There are so many religions. I have faith. I believe. And just because I believe, then what? Oh, then I believe and I will go to heaven. So it takes a little more of that, at least to go to our heaven. So please read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please read all of Srila Prabhupada's books. It is a disease. It's a disease in our Krishna consciousness movement that devotees don't, even the devotees that distribute the books, don't necessarily read the books. They don't take it seriously. So you should, and these are just some of the books. We have unlimited books. We have the books of our acharyas, all of Rupa Goswami's books, Jiva Goswami's books. Then we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his books, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentaries. And so there's so much literature, transcendental literature, because over the last 20 odd years, not only have you read textbooks, but you've also read all kinds of literature. You've read books for entertainment, and you've read things online, so many things. But it's all garbage at best, if you want to call it that. It's all really quite useless. But this is of value, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that if all books in the world are lost except Chaitanya Charitamrita, then still everyone would be able to attain perfection without, even if it's Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam is gone, it's just Chaitanya Charitamrita is there, Krishna Prema Pradayate, then you can get Krishna Prema by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grace. Thank you very much. I'm going to speak to, you were expecting us to answer questions? Do you want to answer questions? Few minutes. Okay. Nice and loud.
Thank you very much, especially focusing on the need to read Prabhupada's books and the disease of not reading Prabhupada. I actually have many questions, but there's not much time. So let me start at the top. This idea of direct and indirect conjugal relationship with Krishna, is this the difference between Manjari Bhava and Gopi Bhava?
Yes.
So our mood is indirect, as examples of the Goswamis and other acharyas.
We are dasa das.
Exactly, so we can never really obtain the direct.
You can if you want,
Well,
but
it's not that I want, I'm just trying to understand.
yes, it can be a thing, but it's not what the acharyas teach.
Right.
And that's why you need to also read others' books. Rupa Goswami's there, where Rupa Nuda's.
Yes.
So what about Rupa Goswami's books? So we should, and the commentaries that are there, and what Srila Prabhupada here is citing is some of Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath's commentaries, but they're much more extensive. So when you read the actual book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is Rupa Goswami's most important book, then yes, you understand Sakhi Bhav and the other one. You know, Srila Prabhupada has never mentioned that word ever, either in a lecture,
Sakiba,
Manjari.
Manjari.
It's not anywhere in his books. He quotes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who writes it a couple of times, but that's all. But Prabhupada personally never mentions.
It comes from the Goswami literatures, Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
I'm just saying that we're followers of Prabhupada, but at the same time, Prabhupada is giving Krishna consciousness for the world and for all levels of devotees. So that means that you have to do a little digging, and you have to reading between the lines, just like you just did between direct and indirect. You know.
Okay. I have other questions, but maybe.
Anyone else have a question? Hari Guru's got a question.
Right, what does it mean to follow? What does it mean to follow one of the eternal associates of Krishna?
You know what it means.
I was just asking. For everyone's benefit.
Yeah, that is the stage. Rupa Goswami says that this is the Upadesha Saram. This is the essence of all Upadesh, of all instructions. So the essence of all instructions is Krishnanama Charitari Sukirtananu. First you have to do Sukirtan, which is more than just Kirtan or Japa. Sukirtan means actually that one is chanting Su. Su means very good, very nice. So it should be chanting with at least without offense. But ideally that one should be chanting purely or with love. And then one will know what it means to follow. Yes. It's repeated. Chaitanya Charitamrita, then Rupa Goswami says that believe me, he says it. Seva Sarakarupena Siddha Arupena Chatri Tadbhava Lipsuna Raja Loka Anusharata. So, same thing. Seva Sarakarupena Siddha Rupena Chatri Tadbhava Lipsuna. One should follow. And this is a principle. It's a principle that we're practicing now. When we talk about sadhu sangha, what does sadhu sangha mean? It means follow the example of the advanced devotees. Mahajana jena gata sapanta. So again, follow the path of the Mahajans. So following, one shouldn't deviate from that path. Somebody else? Mataji's, anybody?
There
Go ahead.